Hello and welcome to another podcast of Now We're Talking, Listen and Learn with Zelda. Today we have two very special ladies with us. It is Glynn Wolman and Hayley from the Angel Network. So before I start chatting to them and finding out a little more about the Angel Network, how it started, I'm going to tell you why they're with us and how we got onto the Angel Network. So we wanted to be part of the Mandela Drive Charity Day, the Mandela Day as such on the 18th of July, and decided to do a blanket run being the middle of winter. We'd supported a charity before, but found that it was highly supported and had begun to be highly supported by large companies. And we were looking for a charity where that perhaps wasn't like that and had or would benefit from our donations. So I went onto the net to see what I could find, and lo and behold, there were thousands of people, and I was finished. So the choice was so vast, and the thinking behind it had to be broken down into certain criteria, and one of those was obviously there had to be regulation. Are they regulated in any way? Do they have the correct number? Do they have large support? Do they have a website? Is it a legit website? A whole lot of stuff. And that's how we got onto the Angel Network. But then I emailed and I asked, would you even benefit from our donation? And Glynn came back and said she would be grateful. And I thought there was my connection, because many who know me, if there's no connection, there is zero going to happen. So let me start by asking, the Angel Network, what a lovely name.
Thank you.
But how did it start? Did you from little say, my heart leads me to charity, or I'm just a giver, so let me formalize this? How did that start?
So for 14 years, I ran a branch of the Jewish Women's Benevolent Society in Johannesburg, which does the most wonderful work, but they only support Jewish people in Johannesburg. And I was always aware of the broader community and the needs out there by so many who had so little. And it's only because of organizations like the Benevolent that I could break away and do this, because I do believe there are so many Jewish organizations taking care of our own. And what happened was, it was October 2015, and I've always been a very positive person. I've always believed in South Africa, proudly South African, but things weren't looking great. Julius Malema was marching on the JSE, crime and unemployment was sky high, and I was becoming pessimistic, and I was very concerned because I knew then I must either stay or go. But if I stay, I must make a difference. I can't just moan or complain or do nothing. I can't be a bystander. And so 3 different things happened. Poor Hayley, this is so boring. She's heard it so many times. One,
I've not heard it before.
It's a fabulous story. You'll love it.
One, I was approached to help collect matric dance dresses. Now, I've only got sons, so I've got no matric dance dresses sitting in cupboards in my house. But I asked people, I've been in recruitment for 32 years, so I've got used to networking. So I asked people, can you help with matric dance dresses? And the next thing I knew, I had 35 matric dance dresses. Wow. Then someone asked if I would help with a Santa shoebox. I said, sure. I put it again on my Facebook page. I got 65 Santa shoeboxes. And the final thing was, a lady approached me to say there are parents of children in state hospitals. The children are in the hospital for 2, 3, 4 days. The parents come and sit by their bedside. They've got no way of going home, of buying food, of getting toiletries. And they wanted me to be involved in helping pack toiletry packs, goodie bags for the parents. And so this time I put it on my Facebook page, but I also put it on a platform called Joburg Jewish Mommies, which I have to be honest, I had found quite a frivolous platform prior to posting. It was, where is the best pediatrician, and what do I do when my child's gums are aching in the middle of the night, and things that wasn't really concerning me. But they were phenomenal. In 5 minutes, within a week, I had received enough to pack 500 toiletry packs. So now I needed help packing these toiletry packs. So again, I went to Joburg Jewish Mommies, and Hayley was one of the people who arrived at my house. We'd never met, and she came to pack, and I'm going to let her tell the rest of the story.
Oh, wonderful.
So, as Glynn said, I went to pack. I loved every second of it. We were chatting, and I said to Glynn, please if you ever do something like this again, please include me. I'd love to get involved. I also grew up, my parents were very involved in the Lions Club, and so I come from a home full of charity, and it definitely is inside of me, and I just wanted to carry on. And I said to Glynn, if ever you need me again, please call me. I'd love to help. And she said, well, how seriously? So I said, no, very seriously. I really, really would like to get involved with you. And she said, okay, well, welcome to my network. And there were a few of us, and we sat that night and we chatted, and the rest is history.
Really? You just decided to formalize it from there?
So what happened while we were packing, we were chatting, and I said there's a lot to be said for social media being used for the good, because this has all come about because I've put it onto Facebook. And while Facebook can be very detrimental, it can also do good things. I said we should form a charity. And one of the girls who was also one of the founding members who was there on the day, Lindy Katzoff, said, why don't we call it Mitzvah Mädels, which means good deed girls in Hebrew or Yiddish. And I said, it's a wonderful name, but it sounds very exclusive. I wanted to be inclusive for everyone, by everyone, about everyone. And the name popped up, the Angel Network, and it was days later that I suddenly realized, I remembered Oprah had something called Angel Network. So we got hold of a lawyer and we checked, and she no longer uses the name, and we could use it. And yes, as you say, the Angel Network is actually a great name because we are a network, and we all know what angels do, and that's what we and all our members do, is whatever good we can.
That's wonderful. It's just wonderful. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of competition.
250,000 non-profits in South Africa registered.
How do you cope within that? How do you cope with that competition? And what do you do, or what would you want to do so that people look at you and go, okay, we have a need? What do you do?
It was very difficult in the beginning. But what we did from the start were how we differentiated ourselves. One, we were purely run via social media. Two, we were a completely voluntary organization for the first 5 years. Nobody took a salary. We had no running costs. We still work from our dining room in my house. My garage is our warehouse. After COVID, we've had to now look at taking small salaries. We keep our running costs under 3%. They're very, very low. And so those were some of the ways we differentiated ourselves. The other thing we did pre-COVID, it was so fortuitous that we'd had those 4 years pre-COVID to build ourselves up. We were obviously completely transparent. I like to think that we were reliable. We would put a post up on Facebook, an appeal, what we call, and then we would, as I used to say, sit back and watch the magic happen. People would just want to help because people inherently are good and want to make a difference, and they don't know how. So, for example, we might want 3,000 pairs of school shoes, and one person can give 60 Rand for a pair of school shoes, and they're happy to do it anonymously. There's no donor fatigue. They don't have to go to black tie events and spend a fortune, but they can make a tangible difference. And so that's how, and we would put the post up, let things happen, and we'd always feed back. So they knew exactly where their money went, and they saw the children who received the shoes that they donated. So I think that differentiated us. We were always very much in touch. And it started almost cottage industry. We did the nice to do things, blankets, Easter eggs, school shoes.
So I wanted to ask, how do you find the need? Does it come
They
to
find
you?
us. They find us. And we always wanted to maintain that cottage industry, but suddenly it got so enormous. COVID suddenly, I won't say put us on the map because we were known, but it changed everything. And so now we have a board of directors, and there are other things that we had to put in place that we're not that little anymore as we were. We had to change. We had to move, but we like to think that we differentiate ourselves by being fully, it's not the CEO is somewhere up there and you deal through. We're a handful. We're 3 of us as an executive in Joburg, 4 in Cape Town, 3 in Durban. And we are in touch, we are relatable,
Okay. What makes it hard?
The need.
What about the need?
It's massive. It is massive. And the hardest thing is having to say no. And so we try our very, very best to do whatever we can.
Why do you say no? When I say why, to what do you say no?
Well, we don't. We make sure we don't. We try our very best. But I'm just saying, if there's a lack of funds, well, then you can't do it.
And we have been burnt a few times. They are charlatans. That makes it very difficult. We had somebody, I mean, it's frightening. It's horrible to talk about, but we've had people tell us that their children have died. A child has died. A child has been killed. We have to release the body from the mortuary. We have to pay for the funeral. I need a ticket to Durban. You've got to put me on a bus. And we only discover afterwards it was a fake death certificate. The children are very much alive or never existed. And it's terrible to tar everyone with the same brush. But we've had to now vet people and make sure the people we're helping are real and not somebody wanting a food voucher they're going to sell to buy drugs. It's hard. It's very difficult.
Well, what's happened, if I just read into it, is you've gone from let's just give to running a business.
In fact, it was also pre-COVID. We were doing a lot of work at Forest Town School. We love them. It's a wonderful school, and we love helping them. And there was the most wonderful teacher there. She's no longer there. And she also was involved in social media. And she said, guys, you know what? She said, you know you're a business. And we're like, oh no, we're certainly not a business. She said, no, you're a business and you need to run like a business. And we were like, no, we love what we do. We love how we're doing it. We love this cottage style industry and that's what we want to be. And she said, no, you can no longer be what you think you are.
And a businessman said the same thing to us. We went to see a businessman about a business plan once, or just give us ideas of how to get the ball rolling. And because we were almost appearing to be all things to all people, which we might do, because we never sort of said we only do HIV, GBV, etc. And it's because we were able to. We just found, initially we thought we would help orphaned and vulnerable children between the ages of birth and 18. And very quickly we saw we could donate laptops, prosthetic limbs, help with a glass eye, a kidney transplant, education, training. And so I often say to people, we do it all, not because we are confused, but because we've been able to. And so that's why we went to see this businessman and he said very shortly, this is going to be a business. It's not just going to be a little cottage industry non-profit.
Have you found it hard making that mental switch?
I did.
We
I
did,
really did.
because there were lots of changes that we were not ready to make.
It takes the care out of it sometimes.
We were frightened to lose that. And having a board, we were never, it's not that the board questions us in any shape, form or way, but it's having to check things that we never had to check before. It's having to not get permission, but run it past the board. Whereas before we just made atomic, atomic? Why does it? Autonomous decisions. I knew atomic sounded completely wrong. Autonomous decisions. We made autonomous decisions prior to that, and now there's a board, and we've got to run it past the board. Yeah,
we really did. We ummed and ahed for a long time.
Yeah,
it was actually well, maybe we should just stay who we are. We're not going to grow. We love what we do. As you say, the care in it. It was hard, but we knew. In fact, we went to a corporate and we told them that we don't take salaries, and they were underlining it, and we were like, oh gosh, I think they love that. They're going to throw their money at us. And in fact, it wasn't. And the corporates want to know that you are taking salaries, that you're not a fly-by-night organization.
That's exactly it. So when we checked, we did not want any form of misappropriation of fund, of donation, of any of that. Because it's fine to say, people are interesting. They don't want to be involved. They'd rather throw money at something and say, just do something with it. Oh no, I'm not, I can donate, but I'm not, don't ask me to work there.
They often say to us, the easy part is giving the money.
Yes, absolutely. The hard part is actually getting involved in that charity and doing the work.
Right.
But when we looked, we did not, because there's so much misappropriation of everything that's going on, it was really important for us to know that this will not happen. So it is a business, and the fact that you have accounts and all of that is all worked out. That is so key for people to know that the Angel Network is run properly and donations will be looked after.
And we have seen that.
And we initially, when I started the Angel Network, my whole focus was we are not taking people's money for running costs. They must know that if they give 60 Rand goes to shoes, not 50 Rand to shoes and 10 Rand to running costs. And we were able to do that for 5 years. But this corporate that Hayley's talking about, their thought was, and we understood, if it comes to the two of you running it, the two of you and Lindy running it in Joburg, and suddenly you can't for whatever reason, support yourselves anymore, you're going to leave the Angel Network to find a job. So we would be happier if we knew you were earning a salary that you could keep going, and we're not we're not at risk of losing you running it. Yeah.
𝐜𝐚𝐴 𝐚𝐧𝐝𝐢,
Oh, I love him.
yes, he's just done a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, and one of the things he says is everything in our lives comes with a cost. Running a charity comes with a cost. Personal cost, professional cost, the tipping point, do I do this full time, do I do it part time? What was if I start with Glynn, what was your cost? What's the cost been? Because there has been a benefit to that cost, whether it's a failure and a lesson learned or a huge success.
Absolutely.
But what's your cost been, or your sacrifice? Because it's a sacrifice.
There's no doubt about it. Initially, my family, well, for quite a few years, and I can speak for Hayley too, our families took strain. First of all, we run it from my house. So there were people in and out all the time, dropping things, beneficiaries collecting things. We were packing at my house. My one son was writing matric, the doorbell was going all the time. They couldn't park their cars because there were cars parked there, or the garages were too full. And it was that fighting to try and explain to them, we're making a difference in the world, please understand. You're living so well, please be understanding. It was difficult. That was really hard. They've come to terms with it. They're much more accepting, although the packing got to them to such a point that we've now found a place to pack. I have been in recruitment for almost 33 years. I ran my own business with a partner for close to 22 years. I'm still running it, but very, very, very part-time. The Angel Network started off as a voluntary organization for the first 5 years, as I said. And so we would work when we could, if I wasn't working on a job spec or doing interviews or going away. And it was very part-time. And from COVID, it became 16 to 18-hour days. And my recruitment business went to pot. And now I do it so part-time. And my children have said, but Mom, you've brought in so much money for the Angel Network. Do you know you could help Dad if you ran your recruitment company more, if you were more involved, you could make more money. And
what would it do to that?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. What we do is so purpose-driven. And many people never think about it, but I did. All my life, I kept thinking, what's my purpose? And
Is that what drove you to always want to be involved, to give, because your networking skill is obviously great. And that's really largely part of your success, is your ability to do that and get people together. And yeah, for sure. But if you take the heart out of charity, surely
it's meaningless.
fails.
It's completely. You can't do this unless it really gets you up in the morning. Unless somebody said to me yesterday, you work so hard. I said, but it doesn't feel like work. It really doesn't feel like work. I mean, Hayley, we work from our home. She drops her kids. She comes to my house by 7:15. We do a brisk walk around the tennis court, and then we are working. And she said, I just love it and I look forward to it. And how can you not love changing people's lives and having an impact on other people? I always say we get more out of the giving than they get in the receiving.
Oh, for sure. Do you feel the same?
I really do. As Glynn said in the beginning, it was also, all your attention's on the Angel Network from the family. You're not around. Why can't you be at home more? And it was hard. And at that point, I think because it was just the feeling of the giving was so immense that you just didn't want to stop. It was almost addictive. And then we did realize that, we just need to slow down. We didn't want to stop doing what we were doing, but we do have families and we do need to take that into account. And once we formalized, actually definitely made it easier. And there's an understanding around our families now. This is our work time, this is our play time. And yes, it does go on at night. It doesn't stop. There's no, specific times.
Poverty doesn't take a holiday. So It's 24/7, 365. But as Hayley says, when we said, right, we're going to take salaries, and with the board's permission, I said to Hayley immediately, we've got to formalize working hours. We have to know that we're doing 7 to 8 hours every day, never mind the weekends and the public holidays and the evenings. That doesn't even come into it. But I need to know that we are working. It's not a voluntary. We can't sort of go for coffee with friends and say, I'll work later. It's got to be a job.
And it doesn't feel like a job.
No,
It
does.
really, really does. I mean, there are times where, as Glynn said, I sit down and I go, oh, I love what I do, and it just does not feel like work. We both feel so blessed to be able to love what we do.
Really lucky, privileged.
Yeah, and you've been at it for a number of years.
It'll be 7 years on the 12th of November.
If you look back, knowing what you know now, would you've done it again?
Without
Honestly.
a doubt, I wouldn't change a thing.
In a heartbeat, but it would have felt terrifying if I could look then and see what we were going to achieve. We've just sent a few million rands worth of fireman suits to the Ukraine. We got involved in war efforts. I mean, we were donating Easter eggs. You know, we looked at each other.
Some mom and pop store was suddenly becoming a
Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was ridiculous. Like,
And we never dreamed of it.
No,
we really,
never.
really never dreamed. It was not our plan. Our plan was to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and feel good. And it was never our plan. We had no idea that.
And
this
we've
was ever gonna happen.
let it take us where it was going to go.
And as we said earlier, we've never had to look for anyone to help. It's always come to us. Not one day in 7 years have we gone looking to help someone.
Occasionally in January, once or twice, I'd say to Hayley, do you think we're going to be busy this year? And then we're so sorry we ever said it.
But it's whenever we say that, like, if things like slow down a little bit,
Don't say it.
we'll
Don't
go,
say it.
oh gosh, we like, it feels like, we're not so busy. Or when I say not so busy, we're always busy, but it's at different levels of busyness.
I mean, the stress right now, we're organizing a comedy evening with Nick Rabinovitz. We're organizing a golf day. We are trying to pack 2,000 backpacks for Christmas, back to school backpacks. We are doing our annual toy collection with Safripol. That's just happening. That's in spite of
the next
everything else that comes. As I say to Hayley, Monday morning starts, you've got a plan. You never stick to that plan. The phone starts,
list for Monday.
the emails come, and you're done.
So let me ask you, if you had a need, because you say people come to you, do you have a need that you would put out there and say, guys, this is a need and we haven't had a lot of traction on that need? Do you have something like that you could put out there and say, anyone is listening, this is is there anyone out there who could do this for us? Is there something like that?
Right now we're focusing on soup kitchens, vegetable gardens, cleaning pit toilets permanently, which is a big thing, and education. And we have in the past 6 months set up and are assisting 100 soup kitchens around the country. Each soup kitchen serves 3,000 meals a month.
Where?
All over Johannesburg, Cape Town and Durban, but stretching everywhere from Meadowlands to Tembisa to Alexandra to Bramley View
Everton,
and Soweto, Everton,
Orange
everywhere, and all over Cape Town. And so we're serving 300,000 meals every month. It costs us R500,000 a month to run the soup kitchens. We are always terrified our funding is going to come to an end. We have been incredibly blessed. The South African Jewish Board of Deputies did partner with us. They had one single donor, the most philanthropic family, who wanted to remain anonymous, who said that the donation had to go to the broader community and it all had to be used for food. And to date, they've given us close to 30 million rand since the beginning of COVID. Wow. Bearing in mind that pre-COVID, we were bringing in about R1 million a year. And so it's been game-changing, but it is going to come to an end. And we fear for that because we don't want these soup kitchens to stop doing. We are feeding so many people.
We are, ideally, what we really would love is for corporates to basically adopt a soup kitchen and build and plant a vegetable garden side by side every soup kitchen, and it becomes theirs. Because at the end of the day, we need these people and these communities to become self-sustainable, because it's not a bottomless pit.
So let me ask you, if corporates are interested, do they just go onto the website and email you and say, look, they've heard this, they're interested in adopting a soup kitchen and what is needed, and you would be able to give them all that information?
Absolutely.
So for any need that somebody has out there,
They can email, they can phone.
just email and say, well, we'd like to donate, we'd like to, all of that. If somebody wanted to start a charity, what advice would you give them?
The biggest advice, somebody is starting one recently and she came to see me and I said, choose your team wisely. The people who are going to work with you. choose somebody who's excellent with admin, who's great with organizing. Choose somebody who's very good with figures, that's Lindy. Make sure you've got somebody who will do fundraising, that's me, and Hayley. Make sure, well, now with our board, we wanted to make sure we had somebody who was a legal mind, a financial mind, but I would choose the people wisely. I would not limit myself. I wouldn't say we only look after...
Your need is a niche market somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
We thought we could, but
I wouldn't, in your NPO, in your constitution, I wouldn't limit myself to we look after orphaned and vulnerable children between the ages of 0 and 18, because there are so many more people who need, those carers need help. The people who look after those kids need help. There's such a need out there for so much.
I think the truth is when you do start, it is very scary. So it's easier to concentrate your efforts on one specific thing. But it's actually quite simple. It's quite easy, and that's what social media has actually done for us. It has really been, we're just the middleman. People give, we hand out, we're in the middle, and
so
we just
true. There's a need, and there's those who want to help.
And it's that simple, actually.
It really isn't difficult.
So starting may not be, but choosing one. What would you recommend? How would you guide someone when they're looking for a charity to donate to? What should they look for? If somebody comes to a corporate and says, oh, you need to give us money, you need to give us this, or an individual. There are many people out there looking for a place to donate to, but they're not always sure that, is it legit.
Well, they must be registered, non-profit or non-government. They need to, PBO, to be registered to be able to give 18A certificates for tax is it's a plus. Always do what you say you're going to do. Keep your word. Under promise and over deliver. Don't say you're going to do things and not do them. Have ways of monitoring and evaluating. Say, you gave us this money for the soup kitchen. Look where we are today. You helped to educate this accountant. He is now taking care of his family. You've changed the legacy for generations to come. Being able to look back and say, this is how you change. And we do that all the time. We've got one beneficiary again. He wanted to remain anonymous. He sends us 47,500 Rand every Thursday. He doesn't want anyone to know he does it. He actually doesn't care what we do with the money. He knows, because initially,
He's trusting.
Yes.
he's so trusting, because initially I would give details and photos and I would just get a thumbs up. And eventually occasionally I'd go to him and say, could we do this? He said, I'm leaving it to you. I'll give you the money, you make the decision.
I think that's been our biggest plus, and one of the most positive things for us is that we've gained the trust of people.
Yeah.
And it's massive. It really is massive. And people in corporates who've never even asked to see audited financials, or they've just somehow have trusted us, and we are so grateful for that. And everything is transparent.
And
at all times.
Sorry, the two big donors that I've mentioned have never met either of us. They were referred to us. The one who gives us the 47.5, I met him once online, and in fact, after working together or receiving these unbelievable donations, after about 2 years, I said, can we meet? And he had no desire to. He's happy doing what he's doing, and we're so grateful. And yeah, they know we're going to do what we say we're going to do.
And your donations that you receive, you don't mind if they're small, if they're large, it doesn't matter.
No, absolutely.
All adds up. As I say, we received about 1.2 million annually until COVID. The first year of COVID, our donations were 41 million Rand. Mainly went to PPE and food. But for the first time, we were knocking on doors for 4 years. We were having fundraisers. We were marketing. We were doing whatever we can to get out there. We started off with 1,000 people on Facebook. We've got a reach now of about 250,000 worldwide. And obviously, overseas money makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Goes far further, exactly.
We do have branches overseas.
Yeah, we've got an Australian branch and an American branch to make it easier for tax deductions in those countries, and their money goes so much further. But it just changed the whole landscape for us. Suddenly, organizations were coming to us and saying, we want to be part of you. Here's our money. Do with it what you need to do.
You know, it starts to work when people come to you and you don't have to go and find them. Then you know that, okay, you're doing something right.
It was shocking in the most wonderful way.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
amazing.
as you say, how big or how small the donation is, I always just love to use this example. In the very beginning, when we were collecting school shoes for 60 Rand, someone messaged me and she said to me, Hayle, all I can give is 60 Rand for now. And I said, you've changed one child's life. One child,
That's
you
where
give
you
it that, and that is what people love about the Angel Network, is they know that it doesn't matter how big or small the donation is, it is going to change someone's life.
That is just amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. So how can you not love getting up in the morning and doing what you're doing?
Sure.
Yeah. And we've worked with the most unbelievable people, the community leaders on the ground, who do this with a generosity of spirit that is unparalleled. They teach us things every day. We watch them and we are in awe.
So that's what I wanted to say. Volunteers, people who, do you, outside of the donations, do you accept or request people to volunteer, prefer them not to? You have your own people? How does that work? If you have a specific project, for example, that you're working on, is there a need for volunteers?
Well, certainly when it comes to packing food parcels or
Christmas
boxes or
toys.
the cozy comfort packs for the homeless, we have a WhatsApp group and people who have joined that group. Every time we need a volunteer, we put it on there for whatever it may be, and people respond.
So, are you allowed to read out that WhatsApp number if people are prepared, wanting to maybe or do they just email you?
They can send an email, absolutely. All we need is an email with their name and their cell number and the permission to add them to that WhatsApp group, and we will.
Perfect. And then the other thing I want you to read out for me, or just to speak, is the address, the web address, your website address. What is it?
www.theangelnetwork.co.za.
Fantastic. I have one last question, and that is, you are obviously a huge role model for your families, friends, people out there, the organization, those who work with you. Who's your mentor? Who do you look up to, and who was the thing that guided you from, it might change because age, doesn't matter, we mature, but what is that? Or what is it?
It's going to sound so cliched, but I have to say Oprah has always been somebody that I've looked up to, been inspired by, motivated by, as well as Mandela. They were the two. If I could meet anyone in the world, it would be Oprah and Mandela. My parents, my late father, my mother. My mother is 80, going on 85. She worked as a doctor until she was 82. She taught me that life wasn't fair, that I must just get on with it, not feel sorry for myself. There were no pity parties in my house. We had to just get on with things. She taught us that everybody's the same, and never to think that I was better than or entitled to. It was about hard work. It was about getting up and showing up and doing things. It was expected. It wasn't, well done, look what you've done. It was expected. Those are my role models.
So I would have to say my parents as well. As I said, growing up in a home, being involved in charity. Every Sunday we were either at an orphanage or at a drug rehabilitation center or feeding the homeless. So, my dad's passed away, but my mom is everything and have taught me everything that I know, and what I have in my heart is from them. And I have to say, she's going to be very embarrassed, but Glynn is my other role model. She really is.
It's very touching.
She really is. And I'm very blessed to be working with her. She's an incredible woman whose heart is is right in there, and nothing is ever too much for her. She really is. I always say when I'm big, I want to be like you one day.
You want to be big like this? I do know that we are now inspired daily by our community leaders who do everything on the smell of an oil rag. They have nothing, but they have more than someone who has, from their nothingness, they find a way. Their hearts are so big and so full, and they will do anything. We work with human beings. I mean, meeting these people and now calling them our friends has been probably one of the best things that's happened.
That's just amazing.
They are incredible human beings, and I take my hat off to them. What they live with, what they see on a daily basis, we couldn't imagine. They never complain, and they always get up the next day to make a difference.
Well, you can add me to the WhatsApp. I would be.
Thank you.
Encouraged
Thank
to
you.
do that for sure.
Thank you.
In closing, I'm going to ask you: is there anything you'd like the people out there to know something we've not covered that you'd like them to know about your business, about the angels, about donating, about what your need is, anything that I've perhaps not asked?
I would love people who don't know about us, and even those who do, to look at our website, to join us on Facebook and Instagram. We are trying our best to educate, offer help with education. We don't pay for people's education. We assist with historical debt. These are outstanding students who cannot get their degrees unless they pay the outstanding fees. They cannot go on to study their next degree without paying. They can't get jobs. So we settle historical debt. And initially we didn't. We were paying for fees. We've helped doctors, lawyers, accountants, and they are remarkable human beings today, and they're going to, as I said before, their families for generations to come will be changed. And so we always need, if there are any organizations who want to sponsor a student, who want to look at getting involved with someone, who want to, as Hayley said, work on soup kitchens, vegetable gardens, and cleaning pit toilets. That's a big thing. 549 Rand cleans a pit toilet permanently for a whole year.
And 5,500 Rand a month feeds a soup kitchen.
That's one.
So if you look, it's actually not that bad in the big scheme of things.
And we really need those funds. If they start drying up, we can't tell 300,000 people who are getting meals every month, there's nothing left.
Sure, absolutely.
So we're on a massive fundraising drive.
Yes.
So whoever is happy to open up their hearts, we are so grateful.
So I'm going to ask people when they listen to this, watch this, that they like the podcast, that they comment on the podcast, that they go onto the Angel Network website, and that they dig deep and they go, I've been thinking about this for so long, and now I possibly have a place where I can contribute, because it's all about contribution. That's really is what it's about. So I just want to say thank you to Glynn and Hayley. It's been wonderful. How exciting.
Thank you. It's been wonderful for us. Thank you.
And I just want to, in closing, I think it's 4 quotes that I looked at and I just loved, and I'd like to share with everyone. The first, believe it or not, is by Winston Churchill. And he says, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. So true. And then Maya Angelou, my favorite, says, when we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. Everyone is blessed. When you give, that is just, it's not how much we give, but how much love we put into the giving. That is Mother Teresa. And then I love Muhammad Ali saying, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. So thank you, ladies. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.